Y'all, this heat is no joke. So we are under a heat advisory for Texas, specifically Boyd, Texas, I guess. And I have 18 chickens that I have to worry about. So what I've been doing, just things that I've been doing to help. I should have put my external mic on here. Gosh darn it. Things that I've been doing to help the chickens are I water down their run every night. All the run, I water it down, and then in the morning I'm going to water it down too. And then I froze some watermelon for them. I just cut up some watermelon and put it on some parchment paper and threw it in the freezer, and I'm fixing to give it to them. He'll put one on the other side. One thing you need to do is just make sure that you have fresh cold water every day. It's gonna be tricky to hold with the microphone, but I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and couldn't figure that one out. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. I'm gonna go ahead and refresh their water, make sure that they have fresh semi-cold water. I know it's not going to be like ice cold or anything. You can add ice cubes to their water. Sometimes I don't know what to think of that because, you know, stuff floating around in their water, but you can do that. You know, I'm sure my neighbors just think I'm like a Looney Tune. I don't think all of them know that I have a YouTube channel, and so I'm sure they just see me around with a camera, just walking around, talking to myself. But anyway, okay, so another thing I like to do for the chickens, besides fresh water and frozen treats, is putting fans in their run. Now, my chickens are not all 100% free range chickens. They usually hang out in the run and the coop during the day while we're at work. And when I get home, I like to let them out. If I'm home on a weekend, I let them out. But majority of the time, they're going to be in the run. I have a pretty decent sized run, and it is fully shaded. It's shaded by, I put a roof. As you can see, I put a roof here. This is their chicken coop, and then I have a roof on this side. So it is completely shaded on both sides. We do have shades here and here, which kind of shade some of the chicken tunnels during the day, and so they are able to get out and kind of forage and find some bugs and things like that during the day, so they can be outside without being outside, if that makes sense. We also have this giant tree here that will shade them in the afternoon, which is really great because the more shade, the better, in my opinion. With this heat, it's no joke. It is not to be taken lightly. And so what I'm going to do now, you can tell when they're hot, when they have their beaks like open and they have their wings kind of fluffed a little bit, they're hot. So I'm going to refresh their water, and I'm going to spray down the run again because it's like 108 here. It's ridiculous. And I have some really big feathered girls. My Orpingtons in particular are probably my biggest feathered girls. And so I want to make sure everyone stays cool. Another thing is chickens will cool themselves through their feet. So if you have like a kiddie pool, or if you have like one of those boot like mat things where it has kind of a lip on it to where you could like fill it up with water ever so slightly, and that way they can stand in the cool water because they'll cool down from their feet. I'm in a huge panic. I come home from work and I'm just like rushing down to the garden and to the chickens because it just stresses me out. Whenever it gets super super hot and then it gets super super cold, those are the parts where being a chicken owner is very stressful. So we have this hose sitting out here, and it will actually get hot in that hose, and I don't want to spray hot water on them. So I'm going to let the majority, all of that hot water out before I give them a drink. I'm already sweating. Yeah, it's scalding hot. You can tell they're just They're a little stressed out. My plants are stressed out. It's so hot. It just makes me very, like, really nervous to like walk down to the coop in the afternoon. I don't like it. But it's a part of it. It's a part of having chickens. It's a part of having animals. Um, Knowing how to take care of them. So it's part of it. So I'm gonna let this hot water run out, and then, like I said, I'm gonna fill up their waters, give them fresh, semi-cold water, and spray down their run. That way they have some sort of relief. We've been having a lot of problems with ants lately, and the only thing I've seemed to find that will help is this First Saturday Lime. This can go anywhere. This can go in their chickens' water. It can go in the run. It can go in the coop. It can go on your plants. It can go in your garden. You can use it as a perimeter. It's also a deterrent for snakes and mites and bugs and things like that. It's a monthly insect repellent. I just have it on auto order, so it ships directly to me. I like to use that a lot. Another thing you can use to help your chickens out is like chicken vitamins. So I have the Hydro Hen, which I'll show you here in a minute, and I also have this ASEA. I just use a capful per gallon of water, and I put it in their water buckets. Hi, Francis. So last night I was in a little bit of a panic, and I decided to go to the Dollar General to see if I could find a kiddie pool, and I couldn't because, you know, of course it's summertime and they're sold out. So it's Darby. We got Trixie, Sarah, Bella, and looks like Harvey. So I went to the Dollar General and I just found this, what they call it, a dish pan, 18 quart, and I don't fill this one up all the way. I just fill it up enough to where they can stand in it. So, to my knowledge, chickens will cool themselves down through their feet. So, if they have like standing water, um, for instance, I have my white bucket that I got from Dollar General that I fill up. I don't fill it up all the way, I just fill it up enough to where they can soak their feet and cool down that way. My mom has like one of those large, like plastic, like those heavy duty plastic boot trays that she'll fill up and she'll put out for her chickens so her chickens have somewhere to cool down. That way they can get some relief like during the day when the temperatures are just outrageous and it's so hot. One of my chickens, Pigeon, she just stood in the water bucket. So, I mean, I know it's working. It's just one way that chickens will cool down. I don't think dunking them and soaking them is good. I think that would probably lead to more like sickness and things like that with them. So it's not something that I would recommend. I would recommend having multiple sources of water for them, having good ventilation, having maximum airflow for them. Um, and just trying to keep them cool any way you can. One thing I will do is just spray my rundown. I'll spray my rundown in the morning. I'll spray it down at night just to give them some relief as far as the heat. Now, it will cause a lot of humidity, and that's probably not the best, but I think it's better than just having that dry dirt to dust bathe in. It's a little bit cooler underneath all of that mulch. For me, one of the telltale signs that my chicken is hot is whenever they have their mouth open and they're kind of panting like a dog would. And then they'll have their wings kind of poofed out a little bit, and sometimes they'll poof out their feathers just so that they can get some more airflow through there. And that is a telltale sign that my chickens are too hot. That's when I know I need to refresh their water. I need to figure out a way to get them cooled down. Not drastically. I don't want to dunk them, like I said before, but I want to provide them with adequate, cooler water. I'm not even worried about my garden. I'm more worried about these chickens. But just to show you what this heat is doing to my garden, you can see where I have the shade cloth. My zinnias underneath are doing actually surprisingly well. They don't look wilty or hot at all. And then you come over here where the shade cloth isn't, and they have just taken a beating. They are withering and browning. They're not liking it. My broccoli plant is just struggling big time. So I think the shade cloth really makes a big difference. I should have got a bigger one. I hope these tips help you with your chickens. If you have any other suggestions on how you keep your chickens cool in this heat, feel free to leave them in the comments below. It's tricky. Every year, the heat stresses me out with these chickens, and the cold stresses me out with these chickens. I just want them to be comfortable and happy and lay eggs and live a good life. Anyway, like I said, if you have any other tips or tricks on how to keep your chickens cool, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thank you